Venom, 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 when you get hit with the venom. Knock, knock with the devil in Venom, Venom, Venom. Yeah, I really like that song. I just watched Venom and it was way better than I expected. I saw the negative reviews online and I was a bit concerned at first, but after watching the film I really enjoyed it. One important thing to mention is that this film is not a part of the MCU. It is a part of the SUMC instead. SUMC stands for Sony's Universe of Marvel Characters. I'm not joking, that's the official name. I think they changed it to Venomverse though, but that was the original name. After the failure of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it seemed that Sony had given up on making a Spider-Man cinematic universe. Before that film failed, they planned on making a Sinister Six movie, and weirdly enough, an Aunt May solo film about her years as a spy. Sony was quick to deny those rumors, but seriously, Sony is desperate. They were talking about that movie. That movie was going to happen. They probably canceled it as soon as people reported on it. It seemed that Sony had given up on their cinematic universe plans after they teamed up with Marvel to make Spider-Man Homecoming. But Sony is Sony and they haven't learned their lesson.
Cause you frickin' fricks just can't ever be quenched. Your fantasies can't ever be quenched, can they? You frickin' fricks! What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
There's going to be a Black Cat and Silver Sable film called Silver and Black, but now that's been split into 2 movies. There's going to be a Silk movie, there's going to be a Morbius the Living Vampire movie starring Jared Leto. There's going to be a Nightwatch movie, but more importantly, there's going to be a Jackpot movie. Jackpot definitely deserves a movie. Everyone is hyped for that, right? A movie about an obscure character who only appeared in 58 issues of Spider-Man? Awesome, right? Also, there are plans to make solo films about more of Spider-Man's villains like Kraven the Hunter. There also were plans for a mysterious solo film along with it, but those plans have been scrapped in favor of having the character appear in Spider-Man Far From Home, who is played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'm thankful for that. I'll talk more about this later at the end of the video. Now I'm going to talk about Venom. Venom, Venom, you know, when you get hit by the Venom. Yeah, I just really enjoy that song. Venom has been a film that has been in development hell for a very long time. At first, it was going to star Topher Grace, who played Venom in Spider-Man 3, but Raimi's series of films came to an end. Next is going to be a part of the Amazing Spider-Man universe, but then the Amazing Spider-Man 2 failed. Anyway, now Venom is out, it has no connection to Spider-Man whatsoever, Venom is in his own universe, and I really expected that it would be bad when it was first announced. But after seeing the trailers, I became more optimistic about this film. Sure, it sucks that Spider-Man can't be in it, but this film honestly didn't need him. The movie is about a man who gets alien goo on him and he gets superpowers. Spider-Man is not 100% necessary for this story to work. It's fine that Spider-Man isn't in the film. Sure, it is disappointing that Venom isn't in the MCU. It would have been cool to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man get the black suit. Have him meet Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy, who would later turn into Venom. Tom versus Tom. Both of their names are Tom. That would be cool. But this film works well without Spidey. And who knows, maybe Spider-Man and Venom will eventually cross over at some point. I don't know for sure, but if the fans really want it, maybe Sony and Marvel can come to an agreement. But that won't happen in quite a while, especially because of Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal's awkward relationship. I mean, look at Kevin Feige. He's sitting next to Amy Pascal. He obviously doesn't like it, he feels uncomfortable, but he has to sit with her because the only way to get Spider-Man in the MCU is to cooperate with her. Like, he's just sitting there, and the interviewer's like, is Venom a part of the MCU? And just Amy Pascal's like, yes, yes! And Kevin Feige's like, no, no. But he's just so uncomfortable. Poor Kevin Feige. This just, yeah. I don't think Venom will be in the MCU for a very long time. This movie isn't perfect, but still a very fun watch. The film is about Eddie Brock, who is a journalist who exposes corruption. He finds out that Carlton Drake, a rich guy who wants to go to space, is kidnapping homeless people to do experiments on them. Carlton Drake wants to combine human and symbiote to create the perfect specimen so humans can survive in space. Eddie tries to expose him after he learns that his girlfriend, Anne, is Carlton's lawyer who is trying to cover up his secrets. Eddie ends up making her lose her job. Eddie and Anne break up. Eddie gets fired from his news job. Then Eddie meets Dr. Dora Skirth, who is a scientist at the Life Foundation. She sneaks Eddie into the building and Eddie takes photos. He frees a homeless woman, and after he frees her, she dies. Eddie then gets the Venom symbiote. That's the movie setup. After that, the movie starts getting good. The film is about Eddie and Venom's symbiotic relationship. Eddie and Venom have great chemistry in this film. Eddie and Venom play off each other very well. Throughout the film, Venom tells a lot of funny jokes. The scenes where Eddie goes crazy and eats a bunch of food when he first gets a symbiote are hilarious. I won't spoil too much, but there is a moment in the film where he is in a fancy restaurant. I laughed a lot during that scene. Eddie begins to hear voices and goes crazy, and after that stuff happens, he transforms into Venom. I really liked Venom's look in this film. It's more faithful to the comics. Venom as a character in this film is more faithful to the comics. In Spider-Man 3, Venom is absent. What I'm trying to say is that Topher Grace played Eddie Brock. He just played Spider-Man in a black suit. He just played evil Spider-Man in a black suit. There was no symbiotic relationship between Eddie and Venom in Spider-Man 3. In this film, however, Venom is present. I love how Venom says, "We are Venom." This sentence shows the symbiotic relationship of Eddie and Venom. This film didn't ruin Venom at all for me. Venom is great in this film, and I love every scene that Eddie and the symbiote are in. The side characters are interesting as well. And Eddie's ex-girlfriend is a fine character, and I think that Michelle Williams did a fine performance with the material she was given. I also like her boyfriend, Dr. Dan Lewis, who's played by Scott Hayes. You can tell that the actors in this film are trying, despite the fact that the script isn't perfect. The rest of the film follows Eddie being tracked down by Carlton Drake and the Life Foundation. The rest of the stuff I want to talk about is very spoilerly. If you don't want to hear spoilers, skip to this part. Still, a lot of this was in the trailers, which Sony is notorious for doing. They spoiled the ending for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and they spoiled the ending in the trailers for Venom as well. If you don't want spoilers, skip to this time. 1, 2, 3, it's spoiler time. Eddie and Venom's relationship is similar to one from a romantic comedy. Before watching Venom, I watched I Am That Robbie's review, and he is 100% correct. This film explores a romance between a man and an alien. And in this movie, they make out. And yeah, She-Venom is in this movie. I expected that would happen since Eddie's ex-girlfriend briefly got the symbiote in the comics. I love the scene where Venom climbs on top of a building. That was very cool. I laughed at Venom calling Eddie a pussy when he decided to take the elevator instead of jumping out of the window of the skyscraper. This movie is a lot of fun. I really liked Eddie and Venom's relationship. Venom tells Eddie that he is a loser on his planet just like him. I thought the fight between Venom and Riot was cool. It wasn't great, but I still enjoyed it. The ending of this film is hilarious. I loved how Venom said they'd win Anne back. I also love the Stan Lee cameo where he's walking his dog and Venom wants to eat it. I love the payoff at the end of this film. At the beginning of the film, a guy robs a convenience store. In the end, Eddie bites the head off the robber. This scene was spoiled in the trailers, and I really wish Sony kept it out. And let's talk about the end credit scene. I really enjoyed the end credit scene where it was revealed that Carnage will be in the sequel. Woody Harrelson is perfect for the role, and I think he'll do an amazing job since he starred in the director's other films, Zombieland. Okay, spoilers are over. Venom is a decent film. It was way better than I expected. Venom is just dumb fun. Don't expect a deeper message in this film. It's just a blast to watch. It's a guilty pleasure. I'm surprised that this film was good. It's way better than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The reason why is because it isn't setting up a bunch of films. It's a standalone film. Is it better than Spider-Man 3? Sorta, but not really. The Venom parts are way better than the ones in Spider-Man 3. Still, I really like the scene in Spider-Man 3 where Peter takes off the symbiote. That scene is amazing, but Topher Grace is just not a good Venom. I like Spider-Man 3 because Sam Raimi directed it. The only problem with this film was that Venom was forced in. Avi Arad has taken the blame for that. Unlike Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man, Venom doesn't feel forced. Avi Arad is a huge Venom fan and he's wanted the character to have a solo film for several years. And now his passion project is finally a film. While I am not the biggest fan of Avi Arad, it's obvious that he really likes the character. And Sony did the character justice. However, with Venom's success at the box office, there is one huge problem. It's going to encourage Sony to make more spin-off films. Sony wants to make a Kraven film. A Kraven film cannot work. He needs Spider-Man. I really hope that Sony doesn't get carried away. Venom was decent, but it's very unlikely that he will ever cross over with Spider-Man. Whenever Sony makes a Spider-Man villain film, it seems that they will be off limits in the MCU, and that is a huge problem. Anyway, instead of bashing Sony non-stop, I'm going to give them some respect. They are making a Spider-Verse animated film, and it looks amazing, no pun intended. I love the end credits preview of the film. It honestly felt like a standalone animated short. I really hope that Into the Spider-Verse is good. Sony Pictures Animation needs a hit after the disaster that was the Emoji Movie. I'm happy that Sony is making this movie. Disney has been making shitty Spider-Man cartoons lately, so I'm glad Sony is making a good Spider-Man animated film. Hey Disney, give Sony the TV rights to Spidey back. I want Spectacular Spider-Man Season 3. I want a third season of Spectacular, but I think that's very unlikely. Into the Spider-Verse is the closest thing fans are gonna get. Anyway, I'm kinda going off topic. This video is both a Venom review and a Sony rant. Overall, I really enjoyed Venom and it's definitely getting a sequel. I really hope that the Hardy cut gets released because it has 40 minutes of footage that Tom Hardy loved. Those were his favorite parts of the film. I'm shocked that this film was good. The critics were a bit too harsh on this film. This has been ShadeX, and thanks for watching. I got that adrenaline momentum, and I'm not knowing when I'm gonna slow up and I'm ready to snap at any moment. I'm thinking about the time to go get 'em. They ain't gonna know what hit 'em when they get bit with the venom. I got that adrenaline momentum, and I'm not knowing when I'm gonna slow up and I'm ready to snap at any moment. I'm thinking about the time to go get 'em. They ain't gonna know what hit 'em when they blew with the, it's a knock knock of the devil and shotgun.